Ooh. Hello, hello. Welcome back to Underrated Movies. I'm your guy, I'm your man, Mr. Alton Henry. Today I'm going to talk to you about another film. The second installment in the East Row 177 trilogy, Split, starring James McAvoy, Anya Taylor-Joy, and Betty Buckley. It's a story about a man with 23 personalities that kidnap a trio of girls and holds them hostage somewhere underground. And it's up to Jesse Buckley to somewhat figure out if the man that he is treating, she is treating, who has these 23 personalities, could have something to do with those girls disappearing and may have a unknown 24th personality that might be dangerous. And it's a psychological horror film. Really, when the trailer came out, I was kind of on board with it. And really, the poster, which I didn't recognize it at the time, but seeing the poster and then seeing all these glass cracks right in the middle of it, wow. And then the ending, yeah, it's a sequel to Unbreakable. Spoilers. Now, for me to really sell you this film and knowing the conclusion of how this film is tied into, really, it's a story about really a character overcoming trauma and finding somebody who is dealing with the same thing or something similar, in finding these two actually form some sort of connection. They don't really connect right away, but you see the similarities that both of these characters, Casey Cook, played by Anya Taylor-Joy, and Kevin Crandall Crumb, played by James McAvoy. And you see that these characters really fierily spark a connection, like a Beauty and the Beast style. Oh, I'm sure that's so romantic, but it's a Beauty and the Beast kind of style vibe. And it is a slow pace thriller, so it does take its time, but when it builds up, it builds up. James McAvoy. This is probably the best role he's ever had. The ability to play multiple characters in one sitting of a film is not only a challenge for an actor, but I think it could be the most experimental and fun for anybody to do. And I can imagine it's very challenging to pull off. And seeing these personalities, really, they have a personality of their own. To really see that, and then James McAvoy literally switch between personalities in one scene is amazing. Like, you need to be a very skilled actor to accomplish something like that, and it's outstanding. And I actually like it that these movies really don't feel like a superhero film. They feel just a movie that's different in its own genre, but could be categorized as a superhero flick. For instance, with this film, it's a horror film. The last film is a drama, mystery film. And I think the horror element doesn't really settle in towards near the third act. It's more psychological, and you're really trying to figure out why that this guy has these girls trapped inside some sort of underground room. where he keeps saying the beast, the ultimate being, will come and get you. And torturing these girls in a funny way. And it's actually probably probably also his funniest film, M. Night Shyamalan. Like, I think the writing in this is very clever. It's like a mind game. It's actually kind of unique that Casey Cook literally has to play kind of like mind games, child mind games, to manipulate her way to try to avoid and escape Kevin Kendall Crumb, also known as the Horde. So it's very unique. It's very unique in a psychological horror that you don't really normally see. And psychological horror is really, I think, kind of tough to do, especially, sometimes it's, cleverly. I think it's tough to try to do it cleverly. I think M. Night, I think he specializes somewhat in the genre, but in supernatural, he's able to mix it, balancing the two. I think this is one of his highlight films. It is an origin story of a super villain, so it's you're shifting perspectives of Casey Cook to the Horde, but to its core, it's an origin story of a super villain. And then they have a few references to of the Unbreakable film. If you catch on, I mean, you're not gonna catch on right away. When I first saw it, I didn't catch on until the infamous ending, and that ending rocked, dude. I loved it. Like, I loved it. I love that ending. Now you can watch these films on its own, but I'm gonna tell you, the experience is much more grander if you watch it back to back. I think this one, hmm, I think this one is probably, no, I wouldn't say it's probably one of the weaker ones, but I think this one, I think, is probably the most unique and one of the most rare films to really tell the origin stories of a super villain, which you don't normally see. Um, and luckily, I think this film, I think, really is putting a trend to try to pull off super villain films. You have Sony's part of the MCU basically telling stories about supervillains. So I think Split deserves some credit. I think M. Night Shyamalan deserves credit for this trilogy for expanding on subjects and doing things a little bit more realistic. Like, really, we should thank M. Night for The Dark Knight for wanting a realistic, grounded superhero tale. You know, wanting superheroes to be more serious now. And now with the rise with Sony's trying to capitalize their villain origin story movies, now we have Craven the Hunter. We should appreciate Split more. Um, Especially, just we should appreciate it. There's moments in here where James McAvoy becomes the Horde, and it is riveting. I think one of the best scenes in cinema history is the scene towards the end where you think Casey Cook is gone. She's a goner. When she grabs that shotgun and shoots him, and you see them bullets pierce him, but it doesn't pierce through him. And you see it that he takes two bullets and he rises back up and bends the bars, tries to break his way in. And you see the camera just slowly zooming right on his face. A monstrous look. That scene gave me chills, and I think it's one of the best scenes I've seen in any freaking film. Probably one of my favorite scenes in any freaking superhero movie. Any. Unbreakable has one of the best scenes I think is better than really any other superhero film. Like, I can tell you, leaving from this movie, there's going to be something memorable about it, your experience with Split. Split, have you seen it? Comment below, let me know if you have, and let me know what is your favorite underrated